You are 24 years old and you have a license, a desk, and a script, and for the first 6 months that's enough. Level 1. The cold call. The firm is real. The clients are real. The training is 2 weeks of scripts and objection handling. And within 2 weeks you understand the one thing they don't put in the manual. Confidence is the product. Not the stocks, not the returns, not the portfolio strategy. Confidence. You can be wrong about every call you make as long as you sound certain when you make it, because the person on the other end of the phone is not evaluating your analysis. They're evaluating whether you sound like someone who knows something they don't. You make 200 calls a day. Most go nowhere. Some close. The commissions are real and they arrive every 2 weeks, and by the end of the first quarter you're clearing $8,000 a month before you're 25, which feels like a lot until you're on the floor long enough to see what the people above you are clearing, and then it doesn't feel like anything at all. The churn starts small. A trade here, a rebalancing there. Moves that generate commissions without doing much for the client. Your clients think the activity means you're working for them. You are working, just not for them. Every trade bills regardless of whether it helps. The firm doesn't flag it because the trades are technically legal and the commissions are revenue, and nobody at the firm is motivated to ask too many questions about revenue. So you don't answer questions nobody asks. Then the penny stock. A contact sends you a tip. Small company, thin trading volume, easy to move if enough people buy at once. You buy a position first, 40,000 shares at 18 cents, and then you start calling. 12 clients over 2 days. You tell them the story the way you were trained to tell stories. Specific, confident, a number that sounds researched. They buy. The price moves from 18 cents to 31 cents because 12 people bought it on your word. You sell your 40,000 shares at 29 cents, just before the peak, for $1,200 in 3 hours. The clients hold. The price drops back to 19 cents by the following Tuesday, and 3 of them call you that week to ask what happened. You tell them the market moved against the position, which is true, and that these things happen with smaller companies, which is also true, and that you'll keep watching it for them, which you won't because you already sold. None of them ask whether you held the same position they did. Nobody is looking for that yet. They think it was just a bad call. Bad calls happen. That's markets. You made $4,200 while they lost money on a call you made to them, and the only thing separating those two outcomes was the order in which you acted. You sit with the $4,200 for a few days and run the numbers. $8,000 a month is the legitimate version, 200 calls a day, commissions on trades that may or may not help clients, the whole structure of a real job at a real firm. The penny stock was $4,200 in 3 hours from 12 calls. You have access to hundreds of clients. You have a phone and a list and a script that already works. The only thing the legitimate version has that the penny stock version doesn't is a hard limit. And the hard limit is the number you've been staring at every month when the commission statement arrives. You don't quit the firm yet. You keep making the 200 calls. You keep hitting $8,000 a month. But you start watching the penny stock lists more carefully, and you start thinking about what 200 clients buying at once would do to a price instead of 12, and you start understanding that what you just did was not an accident or a lucky tip. It was a structure, and a structure can be built bigger. You just need a bigger room. The firm is still paying you $8,000 a month to make 200 calls a day and churn accounts for commissions that barely move. The penny stock showed you what the same amount of effort looks like when the structure is different. Same phone, same list, same voice. Different result by a factor of 3. You start looking at office space listings on a Tuesday evening after a shift. Not seriously. Just to see what a floor near the financial district actually costs. Just to know the number. Just looking. Level 2. The boiler room. You leave the firm on a Friday and sign a lease on a Monday, which is faster than it sounds because the floor has been sitting empty for 4 months and the landlord takes the first offer from anyone in a suit who can show a bank statement. The building is 2 blocks from the financial district, close enough that the address reads right on a business card, far enough that nobody from the district is going to walk past and recognize you. You hire 15 brokers in 3 weeks, all from the same pool you came from. Young, hungry, good on the phones, tired of splitting commissions with a firm that takes 60% of what they make. You give them the script. You give them the list. The list is your penny stock positions, which they don't know yet because the list looks like a research document and research documents don't come with disclosure requirements. The operation works in one direction. You accumulate a position in a low-float penny stock the morning before the floor opens, sometimes the day before, sometimes that same morning, always before the first call goes out. Then 15 brokers start dialing. The people receiving those calls are retirees, small savers, people who pick up the phone when someone who sounds professional calls about an investment opportunity because they want to believe someone is working for them. The brokers make the pitch. The stock price rises because 15 people are selling it simultaneously to clients who all buy at once. You sell your position into the buying pressure. The clients stay in. The price falls. The brokers call it a correction. You call it Tuesday. Carol runs compliance. She files what needs filing, flags what needs flagging on the standard reports, and keeps enough distance from the daily operation that she can say she didn't know the specifics if anyone ever asks. You pay her well enough that she doesn't look too closely at what would happen if she did know the specifics. The operation looks clean from the outside because Carol makes it look clean from the outside, which is the only place anyone is looking. Then there's Danny. Danny is your best closer, and the floor knows it. He can keep a client on the phone for 40 minutes and have them thanking him when it ends, which is a skill you recognize because it's the same skill you were developing 12 months ago at the legitimate firm. He believes in the operation. Not because he's naive, because he's 26 and making $18,000 a month and the operation has returned good numbers on paper for every client he's brought in, and he has no reason to look at the paper closely enough to see what's underneath it. He introduces you to 3 of his own clients personally, people he knows from before, people who trust him because he's proud of the association. You accept the introductions. You don't tell him not to. That will matter later. He doesn't know that yet. By the close of the first quarter, the floor has cleared $340,000 in gross revenue. After the 15 salaries, after Carol, after the rent and the phone lines and the compliance filings, $180,000 lands in your account. You put $60,000 into a personal account, which is the amount you can move without it looking unusual. The other $120,000 is sitting in the operating account, and it can't stay there because operating accounts get audited, and $120,000 in a 3-month-old operation with 15 employees has questions attached to it that you don't want to answer. That problem is the next problem. For now, the floor is working, and the brokers are dialing, and Danny is closing, and Carol is filing, and the main line picks up on the second ring with a professional voice, and nobody calling has any reason to think it isn't exactly what it looks like. From the outside, it looks like a brokerage operation. From the inside, it is a brokerage operation. The only thing that separates it from a legitimate one is the sequence. By before the floor opens, sell into the buying pressure, which is the same thing that separated the penny stock at the old firm from a bad call. Same structure, just bigger. You knew you needed a bigger room. You built one. 15 brokers, 1 floor, a lease signed on a Monday. The room exists. The structure is running. The only thing left is the $120,000 in the operating account that needs to move before anyone looks at it too closely. Level 3. The IPO and the offshore. The money in the operating account was a problem looking for a solution, and the solution you find is a shell company, a registered business with a clean filing history and no actual operations, the corporate equivalent of an empty room with a good address. You buy it, rename it something that sounds like technology, and spend 6 weeks building a prospectus. The prospectus is a legal document that will be filed with the SEC. The revenue figures in it are not real. The growth projections are not real. Parts of the management team biographies are not real. You file it anyway because the document looks right, the language looks right, and nobody reading a prospectus is expecting the person who wrote it to have made up the numbers. You take the roadshow to 6 cities in 11 days. You stand in conference rooms in front of family offices and private wealth managers, and you deliver the presentation the way you've learned to deliver them, precise, unhurried, the kind of certainty that doesn't leave room for questions. The floor, the broker operation, the track record of returns the operation has put on paper, all of it is context that makes the prospectus numbers feel plausible. 3 family offices commit. 2 private wealth managers follow. The IPO is oversubscribed. It raises $18 million from people who read a document you wrote in 6 weeks and believed it, because the room you stood in and the operation behind you made believing it easier than not. Day 1. The stock opens at $9. Your founder allocation is 2.1 million shares that you got at $0.004. which means your position is worth $18.9 million on paper at the open. You sell across 4 transactions over the first 3 hours. The stock closes the day at $6.40. By week 3, it's trading at $1.20. By month 2, it's delisted. The company had no real business. It never did. The people who bought into the IPO hold a position in something that never existed. They will spend the next several months finding that out a little at a time, the way these things are always found out. Victor handles the offshore transfers. You met him at a hotel lobby the first time, a restaurant near the airport the second time, and both conversations lasted under 20 minutes because neither of you needed them to go longer than that. He doesn't ask what the money is from. You don't explain it. That's the arrangement on top of the arrangement. And it works because the less you each know about what the other is managing, the less you can each be asked about it later. The arrangement is simple. Money moves from your account to a holding company in a jurisdiction that doesn't ask the kinds of questions your own bank would ask, and from there to an account registered in a name that isn't yours. Victor takes 4%. You've moved $6.2 million through him across 11 months. You trust him because the transfers have always cleared, and because trust in this context is just a word for the absence of a problem, and there hasn't been a problem yet. Then the money starts making you careless. A party you didn't think anyone was photographing, except someone was, and the photo ends up on a financial blog with your face in it beside a caption about new money in the district. A car registered to a company that doesn't lead anywhere useful if you look at it quickly, but leads directly to you if you follow it carefully. And an $800,000 offshore transfer in a single wire, too large, sent too fast, flagged by Victor's bank before Victor has even confirmed receipt. Separately, none of it is a problem. A party photo is background noise. A car registration is one document in a database somewhere. A flagged wire happens hundreds of times a day, and most of them clear without consequence. But they don't stay separate. Somewhere in a financial crimes unit, a person whose job is to notice when unrelated things point at the same name starts to notice. That's the part you don't account for. That's the part you never account for until it's already happening. By the time the wire gets flagged, $6.2 million has moved through Victor. The IPO money is in an account that isn't yours. The broker floor is still running. The $340,000 quarterly is still coming in. From where you're sitting, none of the threads are visible. That's always how it looks from where you're sitting. Level 4. 3 threads. Victor's bank flagged the $800,000 wire 6 weeks ago. A financial crimes unit pulled the records, noticed that the receiving account is registered under a different name, but the deposit dates match your IPO sell transactions exactly, and sent a subpoena to Victor's bank for the full account history. Victor's name, your money, your dates. An agent named Harris opened a case file. This was 14 months ago. You didn't know? Danny got picked up 8 months ago on a securities violation at a firm he worked at before yours. He didn't call you. He called a lawyer. The lawyer negotiated. Since March, Danny has been recording calls. Every conversation about timing sell orders to client buying pressure. Every discussion about the IPO prospectus numbers. Every instruction about which stock to push before the position was built. For months of recordings. 37 hours. The FBI has everything Danny knew, and Danny knew almost everything. The party photo ended up online. A journalist ran a piece about people at the event whose money had no obvious source in any public record. Your face is in it. The car registration traces to a company that traces to you in 2 steps if you know what you're looking at, and Agent Harris knows what he's looking at. The flagged wire and the party photo and the car registration come up in a joint briefing on a Wednesday afternoon between Harris's unit and a parallel investigation running out of a different office. 3 threads. Same name. The case is not being built anymore. It's built. Tuesday morning. You arrive at the floor before the brokers. Danny is already there. He's standing near Carol's desk, and he's not on the phone, which is the first thing you notice because Danny is always on the phone. You notice the second thing before you can say anything. The door opens. Agent Harris and 4 others. A court order. The brokers stand at their desks with phones still in their hands because nobody told them to put the phones down yet. Carol is already standing. She looks like someone who has been expecting a door to open for a while and is relieved it finally has. Danny doesn't look at you. You are walked out of the floor you built, past 15 brokers who are already doing the silent calculation of what they knew and what they can say they didn't. Your lawyer says it in one sentence. The evidence is complete. The only variable left is cooperation, and cooperation is worth more the earlier it happens. You give them everything before noon. Victor, the offshore accounts, the IPO prospectus, the boiler room mechanics from the beginning, every name, every account, every number. You give it all before Danny's recordings are even fully transcribed, which means you cooperate before you know exactly how much Danny gave them, before you can know. So you give everything blind, on the assumption that what Danny knew is enough to make holding anything back pointless. It was. You find out later, in a document your lawyer shows you, that Danny made his first recorded call 2 days after his own lawyer told him what cooperation could look like. He didn't hesitate. He went back to the floor, sat at his desk, called clients, and recorded every conversation for 4 months without changing anything about how he worked. That's the part that stays with you, not the recordings themselves. The fact that he went back and nothing looked different from the outside. Danny gave them 37 hours of recordings. You gave them the rest. Between the two of you, everyone goes down. Wire fraud. Securities fraud. The IPO was an unregistered offering. Market manipulation. The boiler room pump and dump is textbook. The offshore transfers are money laundering. The charges stack fast when the evidence is already assembled, and the evidence was assembled 14 months ago by a man you never met sitting in a financial crimes office running down a wire that Victor's bank flagged. The floor ran for 18 months. You cleared $340,000 in the first quarter. The IPO raised $18 million. $6.2 million moved offshore. You were 24 years old at a desk with a license and a script, and by 27 you had built a boiler room, taken a shell company public, and moved more money offshore than most people will ever see. The FBI moved when they had everything. You didn't know they had it until the door opened. That's always how it ends. Not when they have enough. When they have all of it at once. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, share it, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next level.